The great halls of the Galactic Council fell silent as the holographic display flickered to life, showing a massive vessel emerging from the quantum void. It wasn't the ship's size that stunned the assembled representatives. It was its origin, signature. Human Grand Archon Vexthor, his crystalline form shimmering with anxiety, addressed the emergency session. After exactly 7,000 years of complete silence, they have returned. The timing cannot be coincidental. The council chambers erupted in worried murmurs. Humanity's disappearance had been absolute. Every colony, every outpost, every single human vessel had vanished on the same day, 7 millennia ago. They had left behind advanced civilizations, thriving worlds, and no explanation. Only a cryptic message. We will return when we are needed most. Now, as the shadow mind plague devoured entire star systems, converting organic matter into living darkness, humanity's prophecy was fulfilling itself. The first transmission from the human vessel cut through all encryption, broadcasting on frequencies that shouldn't exist. This is Grand Admiral Marcus Drake of the Earth Vanguard. We know about the shadow mind. We've spent 7,000 years preparing for this moment. Projection specialist Kira Zoll, her tentacles writhing with calculations, displayed the sensor readings. The human vessel, it's impossible. They're using technology that defies our understanding. Their hull appears to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Another ship emerged from the void, then another. Each one different, each one impossible. They moved with precision that suggested complete mastery over space-time itself. The Shadow Mind's latest victim, the Centauri cluster, had fallen silent just hours ago. 50 billion souls converted into living darkness. The combined fleets of 17 advanced civilizations had failed to even slow its advance. Yet the humans spoke of it as if they had expected this exact threat. We didn't abandon the galaxy, Drake's voice continued, calm and certain. We removed ourselves to prepare. 7,000 years ago, our quantum prophets foresaw this moment. The shadow mind cannot be fought with conventional weapons or tactics. It required something more, something that could only be developed in complete isolation. On the main display, the human ships began to move. Their formation wasn't defensive or offensive. It was mathematical, precise, as if they were arranging themselves according to some cosmic equation. Your weapons failed because they exist in normal space-time, Drake explained. We spent 7 millennia learning to exist elsewhere. Learning to fight enemies that don't follow the laws of physics as we once understood them. The Council watched in awe as the human fleet approached the Shadow Mind's advance. Where other ships had been instantly consumed by the living darkness, the human vessels seemed to phase through it, existing in dimensions the Shadow Mind couldn't touch. 7,000 years, mused Vexthor. They didn't just hide. They evolved. They transformed themselves into something beyond what any of us could comprehend. The first engagement proved his words true. The human ships didn't fire conventional weapons. They manipulated reality itself. Where their strange energies touched, the shadow mind, it didn't just die. It ceased to exist, as if that section of space had been rewritten without its presence. We offer an alliance, Drake's transmission continued. Not as the humans you once knew, but as what we had to become. 7,000 years of preparation, of transformation, of sacrifice, all for this moment. A smaller human vessel landed in the Council's docking bay. Its hull seemed to shift and flow, suggesting geometries that shouldn't exist. The landing ramp descended, and out walked beings that looked almost human, but not quite. Their eyes held the wisdom of 7 millennia. Their movement suggested awareness of dimensions beyond normal space. Commander Jana Drake, daughter of the Grand Admiral, addressed the Council directly. Her voice carried the weight of ages. We are humanity reborn, reshaped by 7,000 years of preparation. We abandoned our homes, our worlds, our very nature, all to become what the galaxy would need in its darkest hour. The question now is, are you ready to learn what we've discovered? Vexthor looked at the tactical displays showing the Shadow Mind's unstoppable advance, then at these strange new humans who spoke of dimensional manipulation as casually as others discussed spacecraft maintenance. The choice was clear. The humans hadn't just disappeared, they had transcended, becoming something that might be the galaxy's only hope for survival. The grand experiment of their self-imposed exile was over. Now came the true test, whether 7,000 years of preparation would be enough to save a galaxy on the brink of extinction. This version aligns much more closely with your title, focusing specifically on the 7,000-year disappearance and establishing why humanity would become the only hope for survival. The story emphasizes the deliberate nature of their disappearance and the massive transformation they underwent during those 7 millennia. Commander Jana Drake led the Council delegation through the impossible corridors of the Terran vessel, Infinity's Edge. The walls seemed to breathe with living mathematics, shifting between states of matter that defied conventional physics. Each step revealed new mysteries about what humanity had become during their long exile. 7,000 years ago, Jana explained, her form occasionally flickering between dimensions, we discovered something that changed everything. Our quantum prophets detected a pattern in the universe's fabric, a cosmic cycle of extinction that had already wiped out countless civilizations before us. The delegation passed through a chamber where human scientists worked with equipment that seemed to fold in on itself. Their movements were precise, almost musical, as if they were conducting an orchestra of reality itself. The shadow mind isn't a natural occurrence, Jana continued, her eyes shifting color as she accessed memories stored in quantum states. It's a tool created by beings we call the architects. Every 7,000 years, they release it to cleanse the galaxy, making way for their own evolution. Previous civilizations never saw it coming. We did. Grand Archon Vexthor watched as a holographic display materialized around them, showing the true scale of humanity's preparation. Hidden dimensions folded open like pages in an infinite book, revealing vast cities and fleets that had existed alongside normal space-time, unseen and unknown. Our disappearance wasn't an evacuation, Jana revealed, her voice carrying echoes of countless generations. It was the initiation of the ancient protocol, a plan so vast it required 7 millennia of uninterrupted development. We needed to become something new, something that could exist in the spaces between spaces. The display shifted, showing the progression of human evolution during their exile. They had reshaped themselves at the quantum level, learning to exist partially outside normal reality. Their DNA now carried strands of exotic matter. Their consciousness could spread across multiple dimensions. Each generation added to our transformation, Jana explained. We developed technologies that don't just manipulate matter and energy, they rewrite the local laws of physics. Our children were born with the ability to perceive quantum states. Our minds evolved to process information in 11 dimensions. A sudden alert echoed through the ship. The shadow mind had consumed another system, adding its biomass to its ever-growing darkness. But this time something was different. The humans had been ready. Grand Admiral Drake's voice resonated through quantum channels. Phase 2 initiated. Deploy the resonance anchors. Jana's form solidified as she focused on the present moment. Watch carefully, she told the delegation. You're about to see why we needed 7,000 years of preparation. The human fleet moved with supernatural coordination, their ships arranging themselves in patterns that hurt to look at. Energy began to flow between them, not through normal space, but through dimensions that hadn't existed before humans learned to create them. The architects designed the shadow mind to be unstoppable in our universe, Jana said, her words carrying the weight of millennia of planning. So we learned to fight from outside it. The delegation watched in awe as reality itself began to warp around the human fleet. The ships weren't firing weapons. They were transforming space itself, creating a bubble of altered physics where the shadow mind's fundamental properties couldn't exist. 7,000 years ago, we made a choice, Jana continued, her form briefly, splitting into quantum echoes. We could have fought and died like every civilization before us, or we could remove ourselves from the equation, spend 7 millennia becoming something new. We chose to evolve. The results of that evolution were, now clear to see, where the combined fleets of the galaxy had failed. Human ships danced through impossible spaces. their transformed crews manipulating reality with the casual ease of artists working with familiar tools. But there's something we discovered during our exile. Jana's voice grew solemn. The architects aren't just clearing the galaxy, they're harvesting it. Each cycle of extinction feeds their own ascension, and after 7,000 years, we finally learned how to stop them. The delegation watched as the human fleet continued its impossible battle, each movement part of a plan 7 millennia in the making. They had become something beyond what any species had imagined possible, and now the true scope of their transformation was becoming clear. We didn't just hide for 7,000 years, Jana concluded, her quantum echoes showing glimpses of countless possible futures. We spent every moment preparing for this exact day, because the architect's cycle of extinction ends now. Humanity didn't just evolve to fight the shadow mind. We evolved to free the galaxy from a loop of death it never even knew it was trapped in. As if to emphasize her words, another wave of human ships emerged from dimensional spaces that shouldn't exist, each one carrying technologies and transformed humans that defied comprehension. 7,000 years of preparation were culminating in this moment, and the galaxy was about to learn why humanity's return was its only hope for survival. The ancient protocol wasn't just a plan for survival, it was a complete reimagining of what life itself could become. And after 7,000 years, it was finally time for the rest of the galaxy to learn what humanity had sacrificed everything to discover. The Shadow Mind's darkness surged through the Andromeda Arm, consuming stars and civilizations in its wake. But for the first time in countless cycles of extinction, it met resistance it couldn't comprehend. Humanity's transformed fleet moved like a symphony of impossible physics, each ship conducting warfare on levels that transcended conventional reality. Grand Admiral Drake stood in the Infinity's Edge's quantum chamber, his form shifting between states of matter as he coordinated the defense. 7,000 years of evolution had changed what it meant to be human. Their bodies were now quantum matrices, capable of existing in multiple states simultaneously. "Deploy the Twilight Legion," Drake commanded, his words rippling through dimensions that hadn't existed before humanity learned to create them. "Show them what 7 millennia of preparation looks like." From the spaces between spaces they emerged. The Twilight Legion, humanity's ultimate warriors. Their armor wasn't metal or energy, but condensed quantum probability, allowing them to phase between realities at will. Each soldier was a living weapon, their consciousness spread across multiple dimensions. First Commander Lyra Nightweave led the Legion, her quantum-enhanced mind processing battlefield data from 11 dimensions simultaneously. "Remember your training," she transmitted to her forces. "We've spent 7,000 years learning to fight in realms the enemy cannot comprehend." The Shadow Mind attempted to absorb the human warriors as it had countless other species. But where other beings existed in single states of reality, these transformed humans flowed like water through the fabric of space-time itself. Their weapons didn't fire energy or matter. They rewrote local physics, creating zones where the Shadow Mind's fundamental properties couldn't exist. In the Council Observation Chamber, alien representatives watched in awe as humanity demonstrated why they had needed 7,000 years of isolation. Each movement of their forces revealed new levels of transformation, new abilities that defied natural law. "Your species," observed Supreme Theorist Kavax of the Centauri remnant, "you didn't just hide, you reconstructed yourselves at the quantum level." Jana Drake, now fully phased into the quantum realm, nodded. "We had to. Conventional evolution would have taken millions of years to achieve what we needed. So we learned to exist outside conventional space-time, allowing us to evolve in ways reality itself hadn't imagined possible." The battle unfolding before them proved her words. Human warriors phased through solid matter, their quantum state bodies immune to physical laws that bound other species. Their ships didn't travel through space, they rewrote it, creating new pathways through dimensions that hadn't existed moments before. 7,000 years ago, Jana continued, her form resonating with stored quantum memory, we discovered that the universe had rules even the architects had to follow. So we spent our exile learning to exist in the spaces between those rules. The Twilight Legion demonstrated this mastery as they engaged the Shadow Mind's core consciousness. Their quantum weapons didn't destroy, they reconstructed, transforming the very nature of space around their targets. Where the darkness touched them, it found not matter or energy, but quantum probability clouds that couldn't be consumed or converted. First Commander Nightweave's voice echoed through quantum channels. Position secured. Initiating dimensional anchor protocols. The human fleet moved in perfect synchronization, their ships forming patterns that existed in multiple realities simultaneously. Energy began to flow between them, not through normal space, but through artificial dimensions humanity had learned to create during their long exile. What you're witnessing, Jana explained to the stunned council members, is why we needed exactly 7,000 years. The architects designed their extinction cycles around fundamental universal constants. We needed time to learn how to exist outside those constants. The Shadow Mind, facing resistance it couldn't adapt to, began to retreat, but humanity's transformed warriors followed it through dimensions it had thought were its alone to traverse. Each engagement revealed new aspects of humanity's evolution, abilities and technologies that shouldn't have been possible. But there's something we haven't told you yet. Jana's voice carried the weight of 7 millennia of hidden knowledge. Our transformation wasn't just about fighting the Shadow Mind, what we became during our exile. It's the key to breaking the cycle entirely. The Twilight Legion pushed forward, their quantum state bodies leaving trails of reconstructed reality in their wake. Where they passed, the fundamental laws of physics shifted, creating spaces where the architect's influence couldn't reach. 7,000 years, Jana continued, her quantum echoes showing glimpses of possibilities yet to unfold, was exactly how long we needed to understand the truth. The galaxy isn't just a battlefield, it's an incubator. And the architects aren't just destroying civilizations, they're harvesting potential. As if to emphasize her words, the human fleet began its final maneuver. Ships moved through spaces that hadn't existed before, their transformed crews manipulating reality with the precision of artists working with familiar tools. The Shadow Mind found itself trapped not by weapons or barriers, but by new laws of physics that humanity had learned to write. First Commander Nightweave's quantum-enhanced voice carried across all dimensions. Phase 3, initiated. Prepare for universal constant manipulation. The galaxy was about to learn why humanity had spent 7,000 years becoming something entirely new. They hadn't just prepared to fight. They had prepared to fundamentally change the rules of existence itself. And as their transformed warriors demonstrated their mastery over reality, it became clear that humanity's return wasn't just hope for survival. It was hope for transcendence. In the heart of the infinity's edge, within a chamber that existed in 7 dimensions simultaneously, Grand Admiral Drake revealed humanity's most closely guarded secret. The room pulsed with quantum energies, as holographic displays showed the true scope of their 7,000-year metamorphosis. What you're about to learn, Drake addressed the gathered council representatives, his form flickering between states of existence, is why humanity chose exactly 7,000 years, why we had to become something that transcends conventional existence itself. The chamber's walls dissolved, revealing a vast network of quantum architecture that stretched across hidden dimensions. Within these impossible spaces, massive structures pulsed with energies that defied known physics, the culmination of 7 millennia of human evolution and preparation. The Shadow Mind isn't just a weapon, Drake continued, his consciousness expanding to share quantum memories with the assembled aliens. It's part of a grand harvest. Every 7,000 years, the architects don't just clear the galaxy, they collect the potential of every species they destroy. We discovered this truth in our final days of conventional existence. First Commander Nightweave materialized from quantum space, her armor rippling with probability waves. Show them, she said quietly. Show them what we built during our exile. The display shifted, revealing a massive structure hidden in the spaces between realities, the nexus of infinite recursion. It was humanity's masterwork, a machine that existed outside conventional spacetime, built over 7,000 years of quantum evolution. Every species the architects harvested, Drake explained, contributed to their own ascension. But they made one crucial mistake. They never considered that a species might choose to remove itself from their cycle entirely. For 7,000 years we existed in spaces they couldn't reach, couldn't monitor, couldn't control. The council members watched in awe as the display showed the true extent of humanity's transformation. They hadn't just hidden. They had systematically reconstructed themselves at the quantum level, generation by generation, each step carefully calculated over 7 millennia. The shadow mind adapts to any weapon, any defense, Drake continued, his form momentarily splitting into quantum possibilities. But it can't adapt to what we've become because we no longer exist solely in the reality it was designed to harvest. We became living quantum paradoxes, existing in states that defy the very laws the architects built their cycle upon. Suddenly, alarms resonated across quantum frequencies. The shadow mind had launched a desperate assault attempting to consume an entire sector in a single strike. But this time, humanity was ready for its final move. Activate the Nexus, Drake commanded. 7,000 years of preparation ends today. The human fleet moved with impossible precision, their ships forming patterns that stretched across multiple dimensions. The nexus of infinite recursion began to pulse with energies that hadn't existed before humanity learned to create them. What you're witnessing, Drake explained as reality itself began to shift, is why we needed 7,000 years of isolation. We didn't just build weapons or defenses. We created a new form of existence itself. The Nexus activated, sending waves of quantum reformation across the galaxy. Where these waves touched the shadow mind, it didn't just die. It transformed. The darkness became light. The destruction became creation. The architects built their cycle on fundamental constants. Drake's voice carried across all dimensions. 7,000 years ago, we discovered how to change those constants themselves. But the price? He paused, his form flickering with the weight of their sacrifice. The price was becoming something beyond human. The council watched as the transformed human warriors engaged the shadow mind's core consciousness. Their bodies were no longer merely physical. They were quantum probability matrices, capable of rewriting local reality at will. Each movement demonstrated the full scope of what humanity had sacrificed to reach this point. We gave up our humanity, First Commander Nightweave stated, her quantum-enhanced voice carrying echoes of countless lost generations. Every child born during our exile was one step further from what we once were, one step closer to what we needed to become. 7,000 years of controlled evolution, of conscious transformation. The Nexus's power continued to spread, its quantum reformation waves transforming the very fabric of space-time. The shadow mind, faced with a force that operated outside its fundamental parameters, began to fracture. But here's the true purpose of our transformation, Drake revealed, his consciousness expanding to share the full scope of their plan. We didn't just become something that could fight the architect's weapons. We became something that could free every species they've ever harvested. 7,000 years of preparation wasn't just about survival. It was about liberation. The Nexus reached full power, its quantum matrices rewriting the basic laws of reality across the galaxy. The shadow mind, bound by rules that no longer existed, began to dissolve not into destruction, but into transformation. Today, Drake declared, his form now fully quantum shifted. We end a cycle that has persisted for millions of years. But, remember, what we've become, what we sacrificed to reach this point, can never be undone. Humanity as you knew it died 7,000 years ago. What returned is something else entirely. As if to emphasize his words, the transformed human fleet began its final maneuver. Not an attack, but a fundamental rewriting of reality itself. They hadn't spent 7 millennia preparing for a war. They had prepared to recreate existence itself, free from the architect's influence. The price of hope, the galaxy learned, was watching its saviors transcend existence itself. Humanity had become something beyond comprehension to save everything else. and there would be no returning from that transformation. The nexus of infinite recursion pulsed with energies that transcended conventional physics, its quantum matrices, rewriting the fundamental laws of reality across the galaxy. In this final hour, as the transformed remnants of humanity prepared to complete their 7,000-year mission, the true cost of their sacrifice became clear. Grand Admiral Drake, his form now more quantum probability than physical matter, stood at the heart of the infinity's edge. His consciousness expanded across multiple dimensions, connecting with every transformed human warrior in the fleet. They were no longer individuals, but a singular quantum gestalt, the culmination of 7 millennia of calculated evolution. Begin final phase transformation, Drake commanded, his voice resonating through artificial dimensions humanity had learned to create. Show them what we truly became during our exile. The human fleet, scattered across the galaxy in precise mathematical formations, began to shift. Their ships didn't just move through space, they became living equations, physical manifestations of quantum principles that defied natural law. 7,000 years of preparation had led to this moment. First Commander Nightweave, her quantum-enhanced consciousness merging with the Nexus itself, addressed the watching council representatives. What you're about to witness is why we disappeared, for exactly 7,000 years. The architects didn't just create cycles of extinction, they created loops in reality itself. Breaking those loops required becoming something that exists outside of conventional reality. The shadow mind, sensing the fundamental threat to its existence, launched its final assault. But where its darkness had once consumed all it touched, it now found itself facing beings that operated beyond the laws of physics it was designed to exploit. Initialize the quantum cascade, Drake ordered, his form splitting across 11 dimensions simultaneously. Show them what humanity sacrificed everything to become. The transformed human warriors moved as one, their quantum state bodies merging with the fabric of spacetime itself. They weren't fighting the shadow mind anymore. They were rewriting the very rules that allowed it to exist. In the observation chamber, Jana Drake's form flickered between states as she explained the culmination of their grand strategy. 7,000 years ago, we discovered that reality itself was a construct, a framework created by the architects to facilitate their harvest. So we removed ourselves from that framework entirely, spending 7 millennia learning to exist, in the spaces between spaces. The Nexus reached full power, its impossible energies spreading across every dimension simultaneously. Where these waves touched the shadow mind, reality itself began to transform. The darkness wasn't being destroyed. It was being fundamentally rewritten. What you see isn't destruction, Jana continued, her quantum echoes showing glimpses of transformation spreading across the galaxy. It's liberation. Every species the architects ever harvested, every civilization they ever consumed, their potential wasn't destroyed, it was stored. And now, the human fleet, now fully merged with the quantum fabric of spacetime, began their final transformation. They weren't just warriors anymore, they had become living keys, each one precisely engineered over 7,000 years to unlock a different aspect of the architect's prison. We didn't just hide, Drake's voice resonated across all dimensions. We became the antithesis of everything the architects built. Their system was based on consumption and harvest. We became beings of pure creation, capable of rewriting the very laws they used to enslave the galaxy. The shadow mind, faced with entities that existed outside its fundamental parameters, began to fracture. But instead of dissolving into nothingness, it transformed. The darkness became light, death became life, ending became beginning. The price, First Commander Nightweave's quantum-enhanced consciousness, shared across all frequencies, was everything we once were. Humanity as it existed died 7,000 years ago. What we became, we are now the guardians of a new form of existence itself. The Nexus reached its final stage, its quantum reformation waves touching every corner of the galaxy simultaneously. Reality itself began to shift, not towards destruction, but towards rebirth. Every species the architects had ever harvested began to reform, their potential released from 7 million years of captivity. But we can never go back, Drake revealed, his form now fully merged with the quantum fabric of existence. What we became during our exile, beings of pure quantum potential, living mathematics, consciousness spread across artificial dimensions, this is what we are now. Forever. The Council watched in awe as the transformed human fleet completed their final evolution. They weren't ships anymore, weren't even beings in any conventional sense. They had become living constants, fundamental forces woven into the fabric of the new reality they had created. 7,000 years ago, Janna's voice carried the weight of their ultimate sacrifice. We chose to become something beyond human to save everything else. Today, we become permanent guardians of the reality we've created, living quantum locks ensuring the architects can never rebuild their harvest cycle. The Shadow Mine's final fragments dissolved, not into death, but into transformation. Across the galaxy, ancient civilizations began to reform, freed from their quantum prison. But humanity, in its original form, would never return. Remember us. Drake's consciousness resonated one final time before merging permanently with the quantum fabric of space-time. Not as the species that disappeared, but as the guardians who sacrificed everything to set the galaxy free.